All right, well, we'll get underway. So thanks very much, everyone, for being here. It's awesome to, as I said earlier, to get you guys in one space virtually. It's been a funny period, the Corona stuff. It's obviously been devastating everywhere. But when I do look at actually coming out of New Zealand, we're lucky we're coming out of, I guess, some of the worst spaces. There's been some really cool silver linings for me personally. I mean, this is one. I've managed to reconnect with a bunch of people that I haven't for ages, and certainly on the golf coaching and the golf pro front, it's been quite nice that everybody previously that was so busy doing stuff now manages to have all of this time to kind of get together on stuff like this. So it's really awesome. For anybody that's out there, if you've got some questions along the way, feel free just to throw it in the chat as per usual. Everybody should be pretty muted, but normal Zoom protocol underway that mute yourself if you're on unmute, as that's a pretty common rhyme. So I guess as we get underway, I'll flip it across to the four of you here to give us a little 90-second intro. That gives your best elevator pitch, I guess, for. We'll go alphabetical. So Adam, lead us off if you can.
Yeah, sure. Born and raised in Boston, right outside Boston. Went to high school in the area. Played in high school. Actually, I started playing golf when I was young, maybe like 12 years old is when I started. Played a lot as a junior. Went to high school in the area, played in high school, played a little bit in college. Was into a lot of different other sports, but I got serious about golf and I wanted to try to play professionally. So that's what I did after college. Didn't play nearly as good as I wanted to. And I got into teaching on the side just to make some money. And that turned into something that I was doing more and more of. I really enjoyed it. Got hooked up with Jim McLean with these other guys. And that was, that's where it started for me as a teacher. So that was huge for my career. And Jim's such a great mentor. So, and now here I am up in Boston, back home. And I have my own training facility up here, Pure Drive Golf.
How long have you been at Pure Drive for?
About 2 years, 2
Nice.
years and a month. Yep. Yeah.
Very
So
cool.
we're an indoor training facility right outside Boston.
We'll definitely get into that. There's a lot of people curious on the indoor facilities, how that rolls, as it seems like a big thing that a few people are looking at down here. Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you, Alana?
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Alana Swain, and I'm from Chicago, Illinois, originally. I didn't start playing golf until a little later. My parents are musicians, so I grew up actually playing classical piano. So it was kind of a strange turn into golf, but I was really fortunate. I found an amazing coach who helped me get good enough to play in college. And I went to a golf management college where I was able to get my business degree and my PGA card at the same time in my 4.5 years. And in that, we did internships. And my first few internships where you would work in all different areas of the business, I realized that the one thing I really wanted to do was just teach. That was my passion, and teach and play. And so that led me to go to the best teacher that trains teachers, which is Jim McLean, which is how I know the rest of the panel from working for Jim. And since then, I've worked at different country clubs in New York. And now I'm currently in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm at TPC Sawgrass, and I work for the PGA Tour. They built a performance center here, and I'm one of the coaches.
Is it true at the TPC Sawgrass, if you're a PGA member, you can just come in and shut down a hole and just take over the hole for the day?
That sounds amazing. That's not true. That sounds great. They, if you are a PGA Tour player, you're considered our member. So if you have a PGA Tour card or Latin America or Mackenzie Tour, or Korn Ferry, you're considered a member. You can play and practice at our facility. But other than that, no. I wish I could just shut down 17 and stay there.
Yeah, I've heard that. Maybe that was what Bobby Cole told me one time, but you never know with Bobby.
It maybe used to be, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. All right, Gav, how about you?
Morning, guys. Thanks for this opportunity. Looking forward to this, and hopefully can share a few insights and some experiences along the way. But I guess, like the rest of the guys, obviously went through my junior golf days and really thought I was going to play and thought things would be a little different than probably what they panned out to be. But basically, through playing, I actually damaged my right shoulder, tore my right rotator cuff, and so stopped me from playing full time. And it led me down a little bit of a sort of coaching road as to why did that happen. I'd completed my Australian PGA training, so I did my traineeship, but still then, as a qualified coach, didn't really know how and why that happened. So in the search for sort of finding what might have been the cause to that shoulder injury, an opportunity popped up with Rob Neal from Golf Biodynamics and led me on a little 2-year journey over to Florida and Doral, and got to meet all of these guys. So that was a pretty exciting little change. It was a little bit unanticipated at the time, but over there, it was a massive eye opener into coaching. I'd always had a small interest in coaching, but I wouldn't have said it was the key focus. But it was pretty soon on there at Doral that coaching was really going to be the pathway that I'd choose, and to have Rob Neal as a mentor and Jim McLean as a mentor was a pretty good experience. And then from there, basically the stepping stones overseas just continued. I then went over to Singapore for a year, ended up in Dubai for 4 years, where I was at the European Tour Performance Institute at Jumeirah Golf Estates. So running the Race to Dubai event and just that exposure there was brilliant. Then went to Vietnam to open the Els Performance Golf Academy in Hanoi. Was there for a year, and then basically just 10 years overseas sort of took its toll. So ended up coming back to Australia, where as a head teaching pro at Alana Country Club, if anyone knows it, in Sydney. Josh was actually a trainee there.
Yeah.
Josh and I have very similar pathways. I actually hired him when he was coming over to Doral. So yeah, we've known each other a long time now. And then basically, from a personal standpoint, I really wanted to set up my own thing, golf-wise and business-wise. So in planning the step back, or the setup of a golf academy on my own, my wife and I bought a little cafe. So that's taking up all of our time at the moment. Just while I get all the details of what I want to do in place. But basically, it's I'd say I'm a little bit in hiatus, but looking forward to develop my own facility. Yeah, I think that as a coach, everyone wants to put their stamp on things, and that's where I stand right now.
Nice. And West Coast, John.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jon Horner. Thanks for having us today. It's super fun to do this. From Portland, Oregon originally. Along with Alana, I also went to a PGA golf management school. But boy, I knew I wanted to be an instructor pretty early, as I grew up caddying and working on the grounds crew and always working in golf. I always thought it was really cool how a teacher could really make someone's day and completely change the environment at a golf club. So I saw that early and pretty much figured out I wanted to be an instructor. Went into the PGM program, and I worked for a lot of top coaches just in an effort to learn. Worked for Mike McGettrick in Colorado, and then along with these four here, I transitioned from Colorado to Miami, Florida, work for Jim McLean. Both Adam and I were personal assistant at one point, which was a great opportunity. And since then, I've been out here in California, in the Bay Area, about 30 minutes or so from Pebble Beach, which is not bad scenery to see here about 3 years ago, Jon Horner Golf Academy. And since then have been tailing well, so particularly in Taiwan. So I'll travel to Taiwan maybe 3-4 times per year not right now, but once things hopefully get back to normal. Although Taiwan, by the way, is one of the safest countries in the world. And so going back between Cordoval and Taiwan with my academy, and then with the objective of hopefully we're currently getting a lot of players flying from Taiwan to California to stay and train, trying to set up the West Coast version of a stay and train facility. So thanks for having me. This is going to be great.
It's very cool, yeah. Now all of the, for everyone listening, I guess these four have all been quite modest there. They're all very, very seriously good golf coaches. So they certainly just underplayed it there and said, I do a few things here and there, but they are some of the busiest and some of the best coaches that you'll get, certainly in the States. And poor old Gav come back to Australia, bless him. One question I guess I've got for you is, and the common thread, I guess, is the Jim McLean School. What made that as an environment, I guess, so appealing? And then all of you have spoken very fondly of that. Why was that kind of experience, I guess, instrumental to where you have been or gone today?
Who's kicking that off? I guess.
Who's got the best? I mean, Adam spoke pretty. Said Jim was a big mentor of his, so let's start at the top. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I'd say working at the Jim McLean School was education for me as an instructor. I thought I knew a lot about teaching and playing until I went to Jim McLean School. I think what you learn there is allows you to teach anybody, players of different ability levels. I think that's something I always mention to people when they ask me what has that school done for you as a teacher. You're around teachers, you get to see some top teachers teach, so you're always observing lessons. Jim is pretty hard on his guys to make sure they're always, staying on top of their knowledge. So it's, Jim would say it's like the Harvard of golf schools. And if you're training to be a teacher, that's what it is. It really is. And so, yeah, it's a great experience. And I'm very thankful to have gone through that.
So for John or Alana now, if you guys looked at that into your current environment and you've all got a team of coaches around you now, but you're not at Jim McLean, how do you kind of bring in some of that stuff into your current teams? Do you do it a similar way to help upskill other staff?
Well, for me, Alana, and I think what was so great about Jim was he taught within a framework, or he called them corridors, which allowed for a lot of personal freedom and in the golf swing, and then really through all facets of golf. But that allows for people to play with what they have. And then on top of that, it gave the teacher a little bit of freedom to kind of decipher what type of style they have within themselves, which I know for me, training other few here at the academy, I'm certainly allowing them to have a kind of their own framework or personality, so to speak, but certainly with hopefully a corridor that allows a lot of personal freedom within golf.
This is for you. Yeah.
I completely agree. I think when I look back on our experience, or my experience there, just remembering like you're surrounded by an entire staff of people that are equally as passionate about what you're doing as you are. And I was very young when I entered into Jim McLean. Everyone was so willing to help me learn and help me improve and answer my questions and be patient with me. And Jim's system gave me a framework to at least start, because it's kind of overwhelming. You're starting out and you can play, but teaching is a totally different animal. So, to start with this system and then know that all the best teachers that were working for Jim trained in the same system, but they all had their own opinions about what was happening. Nothing was like shoved down our throats as far as like you have to do it this one way. So having the autonomy of being able to create your own voice through a system was amazing. But currently, I think looking back, he really challenged us to become pretty good public speakers through our meetings and presenting in front of people. And now with my job, we do a lot of corporate groups where, you know, you're on the spot, you don't necessarily know what's going to happen, and you say, okay, Alana, this is what you're doing. You have to go present to 50 people. And I don't know if without the training at Jim McLean that I would have been prepared necessarily to do that. So it's just such an incredible experience.
Did anybody have a horror show Monday meeting? Like, did anyone really clunk it?
Adam?
I remember Adam's.
The value of being prepared.
The importance of being prepared.
Yep.
Okay, you got to refresh my memory here.
Oh, come on. Come on. All right, I remember this quite a bit.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
So John had just finished up. I think we need to paint a little bit of a different picture about the actual school, because not many people really know the ins and outs of the way the Jim McLean School works. Yeah, there's 30 full-time coaches there. You've probably got another dozen assistants, and assistants are divot fillers, club cleaners. You know, it's a pretty grotty job. And that's where these guys started. You know, they didn't walk into teaching 20-person schools at $400 an hour. You know, it wasn't the way that it worked. So Alana, John, Adam, you know, they started, filling divots and cleaning clubs, and slowly worked their way up. And the theory side of Jim's certification was pretty intense. I think there's, you know, maybe 10 books to read. It's roughly about 100 pages of written by the end. And then you had to film yourself doing some videos, and it was about 15 to 20 videos. Each were about 5 to 10 minutes long, going through the various aspects of his system. And that was your way to get out of filling divots. You know, you had to become a certified pro to then be able to teach. And, you know, you had to do the groundwork. And then every Monday was the notorious Monday meeting. Sundays are closed at Jim McLean, otherwise they operate. And then Mondays were closed, but Monday mornings, everyone's off work, but you're in there at 7 o'clock in the morning for a 2-hour meeting where 40 to 50 people gather in Jim's hitting studio, and you talk golf. And it could be absolutely anything. And one of those key things is,
you couldn't not go right, Gav. Like, it was everybody from the bottom right to the top. Like, everyone was there.
If you were supposed to attend your mother's funeral, it wasn't a good enough excuse to miss Jim's Monday meeting. You do not want to miss one of Jim's meetings. So I think everyone had this fear element on a Monday morning. It was because you just didn't know what was going to pop up. And it could have been 2-hour meeting of assistants getting up and doing an off-the-cuff presentation to everyone in that room. And you've got 10 America Top 100s in that room. And it could be something like an opening to a golf school. You've got to welcome yourself, welcome the students, tell them about the school, tell them what they're going to experience over their few-day golf school, and you've got to nail it. And you're then going to go around the room, and everyone in that room is going to critique it. They'll get 30 seconds to critique it, and it's intense. It's scary, and going to this specific with Adam, it's amazing that over a decade later, that Alana and I still, I know it, and poor Adam, it was brutal to watch.
This is a Zoom call takedown right now.
Because I saw some horrible things at Doral, but I saw some amazing things as well. And to see, I'm definitely going to give Adam some credit here, to see him actually stay standing and put his hand up and say, my bad, and acknowledge it in front of 50 people, but come out the end of it shining, that takes a pretty big person to be able to do that. So anyway,
I think I was just amazed that Adam could talk about the importance of being prepared for like 40 minutes of that meeting.
Yeah. So anyway, during this golf school a few days before, Jim's kind of a little particular, by a little particular, very particular, about how his actual school operates. And we had a pitching session where Jim would drag the grass mats or the synthetic mats on the grass area and pitch off a mat to make it a bit easier for everyone. And Adam either didn't have the mats set up or had them set up in the wrong place, so they were in front of another golf school. And I just remembered Jim screaming across the venue, "Adam!" Like as he did, right? And anyway, this 10-minute issue of just rearranging mats couldn't go unforgotten. So at the next Monday meeting, Jim wasn't actually there. I think he was teaching Keegan, I think, at a tour event that week. So Chris Tolson, the director of instruction, and Chris is very calm, collected, but very dry sort of sense of humor, was just sitting in his chair and addressing the group. And Adam, Jim would like to just kind of finalize what happened at last week's school, and he'd like you just to come up and present to the group little sort of 10-minute spiel on the value of being prepared. And totally off the cuff, Adam gets on up, and all 40 coaches saw what happened at the golf school. They know what happened. So anyway, he gets up, tries to nut out 10 minutes, a bit of stuttering here and there, but overall did a pretty good job. So Adam thinks he's done, goes back. As soon as his butt hits the seat, Chris again, "Adam, Jim would like you to get up and say, what are some of the consequences that can happen when you're unprepared?" So anyway, he gets on up again. Anyway, another 10 minutes later, this one was worse. It was a bit muffled. You kind of lost your way a little bit. And finally, last time, once again, butt hits the chair again. Chris again, "Adam, Jim would like you to speak about this." I don't remember what the third question was, but it was 3 repeated questions of Adam, get up, present to the group, 30 minutes on the floor. It was tough to watch. That was really tough to watch.
Now I remember.
Yeah.
But I remember, another colleague of ours that we all worked with, Mario Guerra. So Mario is now the head pro at Quaker Ridge. Followed Michael Breed. I think that you got to understand that a lot of these guys are just hitting 30 now, or early 30s, and it's some of the top clubs in the world. But I remember Mario came in one morning, and it was a assistance meeting. Came in and did I think it was just the 8 steps. It was an 8-step presentation. And I mean, absolutely word for word, perfect, off the cuff. And he'd been at the school for a week. And that was one of the most amazing things I've actually ever witnessed. Just a person with confidence stand up and speak to a fellow group of peers and confidently be able to present what he'd learned. And that's the biggest thing that I think all of us will take away from Jim's is I don't think any of us would have any fear of being able to stand in front of a group, and if we know what we're talking about, confidently be able to present it.
Well, there's nothing that could get like the group. I mean, you say one bad stat or science research, and Doc Neal's like, excuse me, you can't say that. That's not true. So it really was a really good training for what to say, how to come across without lying or creating, numbers based on things.
It certainly taught me the value of being correct in what you were saying, like to be factual in your information was, because in a field of 30 or 40, like someone would call you out real quick. You can't, you can't fudge your way through it. But like you said, Alana, the best thing was then, if you could survive that kind of gauntlet on a Monday, getting up and presenting to one of the schools or from the hotel that would come on over, that was infinitely more comfortable than presenting in front of your peers. So I know there's a lot of trainees. We've got it in our traineeship program. We always get the trainees up presenting in front of each other, and most of them hate it. Some of them find it okay. But once you get very comfortable with that, it certainly does make life easier as a golf coach, that's for sure. So one thing I'm curious then is, so you guys have obviously done, and there's a big list. I think I was going through that, some of the Golf Digest lists, the top 40s or whatever lists they have, and the names on there that have been to the Jim McLean, they're everywhere through it. So there's a lot of people that have come out of that have succeeded, I guess, and or not succeeded, but are still in the industry and doing really well. But there's a lot. Gavin and I were talking yesterday. There was a lot from when I was there. I think maybe 8 of the 10 assistants no longer work in golf. So I guess the question I've got around that is, and one that we've had come in from a lot of people is around, I guess, being a PGA pro or a golf coach as a sustainable career. So you guys obviously all view it as something that is. What is it about the industry maybe that stops some of those other people kind of carrying on? And could we be doing anything differently as an industry in terms of how sustainable it is as a career for coaches going forward?
I'll take this one.
Yeah,
cool.
Go ahead, Horner.
So the big thing on this one, you'd certainly have to have a passion for it. You have to fall in love with teaching first before thinking about it as a business. You really have to enjoy it. And it is enjoyable. And truth is everyone loves to teach. You know, everyone loves the idea of helping someone get better, but it takes a lot of time and effort to really help Mrs. Johnson, who's a 25 handicap, hit a golf ball correctly. And it's certainly there's a lot of ways to help someone. And everyone loves the idea of helping someone, but you really have to put the effort in. For me, it's been watching other teachers. That's been the best way that I've been able to really establish myself as a full-time teacher. And then as far as how we can sustain a teaching career, big success factor as far as what I've seen some of the best teachers do is they're great at follow-ups. They're great at programs, making sure someone's completely bought into a process, you know, making sure they're following up, booking their next lesson before they're finished at the end of the hour, and getting people really bought into the process, not so much, quick fix, obviously. But that's easier said than done, isn't it? I mean, you certainly have to show and get someone hitting it pretty good, pretty quick, or else they're not going to like that lesson. So you have to definitely blend a balance of getting them hitting in the center of the face within that hour so they know that there's progress being made. They have to feel like there's progress being made within a session, and then coupling that with some long-term ideas to really help the process as far as within the lesson and golf swing stuff. So I think it's a combination of getting them hitting it better and then also adding little process-oriented goals to keep them seeing long-term success.
Yeah, I was going to jump in.
Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Sorry, what I was going to say is a lot of pros that get into the industry, they end up working a lot of hours throughout the week. So a lot of pros will get a little burnt out after a few years, and I think that's one of the reasons why they don't stay in the industry. And as a coach, you could end up teaching like 8 hours on the lesson tee, day in, day out. And you do that 6 days in a row, for year after year. It's a little bit too much and you get burnt out. So I think that's a big reason why people might not stay in the industry. But yeah, that's just something that I was, you got to be careful of as a pro.
How do we go about changing that as the narrative for a golf coach? I mean, how do you start to diversify? What have you started to get into to make sure that you don't do that?
Well, you have to schedule your time. You got to make time for family or whatever else you like to do. You can't. It shouldn't be like trying to get as many lessons as you can get. At the beginning, that's definitely should be a focus of yours. If you're a teacher that's starting out, you're trying to get as many lessons as you can. But when you reach a certain point where you can fill up your lesson book, you got to be careful that you're just not teaching too much. Because if, after 6 or 7 lessons, I don't know about you guys, but it's a little bit overwhelming. It's a little too much. So I think just schedule your time, make sure you're not doing too much. And that happens for golf pros. They're at the course 6 days out of the week. So there's so much going on. You know, I know a lot of guys around where I work now, they're working maybe 70 or 80 hours during the week. And it seems crazy. You know, most people assume, oh, it's a great job to be in the golf industry. It definitely is. It's an amazing job to be in the golf industry. But when you're working that many hours and you're not playing a lot of golf, it's a different world. And you just got to be mindful of how you're scheduling your time, and don't be afraid to go up to your boss and ask them to, you know, give you a little bit of time off, or, you know, finish the day early so you can go home and spend time with your family.
Mm.
Yeah.
What about you, Alana?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that Adam and John just said. I think early on, you know, you're just trying to teach as much as you can. When I left Jim McLean full time and I moved up to New York, I was a director of instruction, and I was teaching so much and I loved it. I mean, I was teaching like 9-10 hours a day with 1 day off a week because it's a country club, and, you know, wasn't playing, just like all teaching. And I remember after maybe 1 or 2 years, I can't remember, I was actually with Gavin in Australia and we were talking, and he was like, you seem really burnt out. Like, there is a timeline and how long you could actually do that, even with having a few months off in the winter. I mean, it's just not, it's great because I feel like you get so much experience. And that was in a time where I was trying to get as much teaching experience as I possibly could. And I loved every lesson. But what's challenging is that you think, okay, your 8 a.m. lesson, you have to go at it with the exact same amount of energy as your 5 p.m. lesson, because they're paying the exact same thing. It's not like your rate's getting cheaper as the day goes on. So the product that you're giving someone is way more important than just trying to get as much experience and money, or, you know, because over time, if you're going to do that for 5 years, if you gave 6 great lessons a day and that was your max, then that's better than giving 5 good lessons, 3 decent ones, and 2 horrible ones by the end of the day. And so I think that's kind of, in the last, you know, 12, 10, 11 years, that's kind of one of the things that I've realized. And I also think that you go through a phase as you get more confident as a teacher. I found this. You're more confident in being consistent with your time. So like down here, I have Sundays off every week. And the majority of the time I'll take Mondays off. My students know it. 10 years ago, I would have been really nervous that someone would go to a different instructor and never give me the time of day. Now people just know that I take Sundays and Mondays off, and they will find another time to get into my book. And so, like, you know, I think as the sustainability, which is very possible in what we do, it's understanding that this is a time business. And like, when you're paid by the hour, there's only so many hours in the day. So you have to find a price that you're comfortable with, as far as what people are going to be paying you for your time. And then also what's your max and minimum? What do you need to do on the side so that every single lesson, you're entering it with the same energy. And I work for an instructor, a coach who's amazing, Todd Anderson. And that's what he always tells us. He says the most important thing is your family time. He doesn't want us to be there that much. He maxes us out at 8 hours a day with a 1 hour break for lunch. He wants us to have 2 days off a week because he knows how important, you know, structuring your time is so that you do a good job when you actually have your lessons.
Yeah. Speaking of time there, has anybody scaled away from just charging per time? Like if you looked in moving to say like a service model, I know Adam, you've kind of gone into a little bit with some of your courses that you do, some of your online stuff. Like have you branched into that, and how have you found moving away? Because it's the biggest limiter, right? That it is, we only have so much time every day. So have you done anything to move away from that model?
Yeah, I have those online courses that I've I've recorded those over the past few years, and it's just a way for me to put my content out there and have people download the videos, pay for them. I mean, it's another source of revenue, which is great. So when I'm teaching, I'm also making money off these courses that I sell. I'm also doing some online lessons, which are going well, especially right now. I'm staying real busy with online lessons. So some silver lining, I guess, so I can still make some money and with the family and everything, it's amazing. I guess I'm real lucky to be able to do something like that, even when my business is shut down. But yeah, my plan is to really grow that side of the business because I can only teach so many hours during the day. So if I can keep putting together these courses online or continue to do online lessons, I mean, let's see how far I can take this. Of course, I think it's a great opportunity for any instructor.
Has anyone else got into the online stuff?
I guess Adam's definitely been the one who's been the most prevalent at getting them out of this group. And I guess from my own standpoint, my thoughts on online are you've just got to try and balance out that whole, do I need this or do I want this? And then depending on your time itself, like if you're a club pro and you've got the members to look after and the tournaments to run and your staff to look after and a shop to run, your potential coaching time is just a snippet. So if you've only got maybe 15 hours a week open for lessons for your 500, 600 members, is there really a gain in you spending time online when you might just be able to dedicate a little bit more time or just make sure that those 15 hours that you're coaching are like really hitting the spot? Because if you're like I look at Adam and if you're 8 hours a day coaching, he's got an indoor venue where, how many bays have you got, Adam? You've 3 or 4?
5 total.
You're 5 total, of which what members buy and can come and practice, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so basically buy an indoor membership, which is great. That's a revenue stream that he doesn't need to be there to fulfill. I think as long as if your time is 100% full, maybe you need to then start looking at your fees. Maybe your fees might need to jump up a little bit. But unless your time is 100% full, I would question the value of online. And then as a result, if you're not full, what can you do to maybe just service that membership a little bit more? Just spend a little bit more time with them, try and build those relationships and fill that first and foremost. I think online can be, personally, I think online can be a little bit dangerous if you're not seeing the result of the golfer. You're not seeing ball flight. You're not seeing how they perform on the golf course. If it's you trying to gain new students, you want to give them a snippet of your business to draw them in. I don't think you want to provide them all the information to then go and work themselves. So there's a real balance to online, and I guess it's still fairly new in the grand scheme of things. People are still figuring it out. So I don't think there's a great balance yet.
And I guess the question for you is in the online, because we've seen a lot of coaches down here try it and give it a nudge over the last kind of 6 weeks, obviously with the lockdown. How do you go, and I just know because Jim was obviously so particular about his video camera angles and exactly where you position the camera. And then I also know, considering your background, how much you use and you value ball flight, TrackMan, and knowing all the numbers on that. How do you kind of balance the two of those in an online type coaching environment where people will be sending the information to you and you can't necessarily see the ball?
Yeah, you cut out a little bit, but I think I understand the question. And I would say well, first of all, you just do what you can, right? You obviously can't see the ball flight. Okay. You're not going to get any TrackMan numbers. Okay, well, I get to see your swing. Sometimes I send in good swings. Sometimes I get horrible swings. And I usually ask them to send me in better swings where they have, a good camera angle, good lighting, good frame rate, so you can actually see some things. But if they're going to only give you a few, I just give them my best shot. I'm going to give you an analysis. I'm going to go through everything that I see. And then, hopefully it helps. I mean, I can't expect to do more than that. So without TrackMan, without ball flight, it's just, you got to give it your best shot. You got to look at his swing, use your experience, use your knowledge, break it down, and then give them a bunch of drills and things to work on. And so it's obviously not ideal, right? In person is the ultimate. You get to gauge their personality, their intellect, how much do they know about the golf swing? How would they react to this drill or this type of move? You don't have any of that feedback during for an online lesson. So you just give it your best shot and you just hope it works. And sometimes people love it. Sometimes they almost prefer it, which is surprising. Because some people are more of like a self, type of, they just want to do it on their own. So they just want to get a couple tips online and go practice on their own. That's cool. I totally respect that. Some people won't even go near an online lesson, but I'm just, it's fine. I actually like doing them. They don't take as much time. So I can make some decent money. And when I have time, obviously right now I have a ton of time, but when I start teaching and I'm doing a lot of in-person lessons, I don't have time to do online lessons. It's like when I'm done teaching, I come back home. So I can't do online lessons, but my teaching would probably slow down, I'm guessing, with everything that's going on when we get back to work. I don't know for certain, but I'm guessing I will get a lot of people that don't come in for the lesson just for safety reasons. So I'll definitely keep my online lessons going if I can to supplement that.
It's interesting too, because one of the things that in some of the kind of surveys and things we've had down here is the two biggest reasons people don't get coaching is number one, they think they're going to get worse before they get better, and number two, they feel like they're going to get critiqued, and they hate that feeling in person, just like a Monday meeting at Jim McLean. So it's interesting, the online stuff almost removes those two biggest barriers for people, because they can choose to do everything or nothing with the info, and then it's not an in-person stuff, so they can kind of watch and digest it at their own time. So it's interesting. There's certainly some people out there doing it really, really well.
Yeah, I think there's going to be more and more teachers that do it. I think, again, it's not ideal, right? The in-person lesson's better. You build a relationship with that person. But I think as a teacher, if you can slowly get into this, if you want to, it's definitely a good source of additional income. You might get busy as a golf pro teacher and you don't want to do it. That's great. But I think this online lesson industry will continue to grow. I think the technology will continue to get better as well. I use Skillest, which is a great app. My students can upload their swings easily. I can do a voiceover. I can upload can film myself giving them tips and drills. You could do like a live FaceTime with your student now through the app, or you can do a screen
that's
share.
A cool feature. Yeah.
So these are just things that are popping up, and I think it will only get better. So it's cool. I think it's exciting.
How does pricing compare, say, in person versus online stuff?
So in person, I charge $150. Online, it's $100. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess that's probably what I think is fair. We'll see how busy I get online. If I get busier online, I'm going to jump the prices up. But if I could do like 10 online lessons in, I don't know, 5 hours, I might kind of lock down a half a day and just pump out some online lessons. And then the afternoon, I might do in-person lessons. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to gauge the volume of lessons in person and online, go from there. But obviously I enjoy in-person lessons more.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's way better. You build relationships with people. You can work with them firsthand. Obviously, there's so much more to an in-person lesson. So that's where my focus is. But I'm trying to make money too. So if I can do it online, absolutely, I'm going to do some.
Yeah, and it's been interesting. Like as you say, now more than ever, when we can't get to the facility. It'll be interesting to see how many people stick with it and how well you use it. Some of the best stuff we've seen is people even just I know there's a lot of people, and Gav, we were talking about yesterday, they're going, right, I need to grow my brand. I need to start putting all the stuff out there for all these people across the world, yet they don't actually even have a product that can service these people all around the world. So Gav kind of nailed it there. Some of the best application we've seen is just actually offering it to members of the facility as a value add to the in-person stuff, and maybe actually reducing the amount of necessary contact that they have, but still keeping them engaged in your coaching services for a much longer period of time.
Yeah, I think just anything, if you are that club pro and you're looking to build your brand, I think online you've just got to focus at a snippet. It's got to be that enticing little draw card for them to want to come see you in person. I think that if you're really going to pursue online, you probably do need to dedicate quite a good chunk of time to it initially to get it up and running. I think it'd be a little bit dangerous to maybe just go at it a little sort of half-assed, I guess we'd call it over here. It's a tricky one. It's personally, I guess I coach for the face-to-face interaction, and that's what really is a fulfilling factor for me to do what I do. And I have no problem standing in front of a camera, but I really wouldn't feel that I'd be truly benefiting that student. So personally, I just don't think that I'd be giving the student my best online. And yeah, so in that regard, I feel like I kind of want to step away from it. If the only reason why I would maybe be doing online at the moment is obviously because of a lockdown we're in. If I had really seriously regular students that I saw and had great relationships with, and that we had that sort of personal interaction straight already, you're really only sharing kind of your thoughts, and it's a bit more open. I would feel pretty uncomfortable with a new student online, to be honest. I think the fear of potentially getting them worse because they might misinterpret your data, you can't really see what they're doing. And then also I think with online at the moment, what's to say that at the end of it, they do have a bad result? And it's pretty easy to spread some pretty negative comments globally at the moment where, maybe they've misinterpreted your data, or you unfortunately you did present something negatively, or you did do the wrong thing that could come back and bite you in the butt pretty quickly. That it's I just tread carefully. I personally think, but there's definite need for it.
Isn't that human nature though? I mean, I'm sure I've said a lot of shitty things in person and been misinterpreted a lot, even in real life. So I'm sure that can happen across all mediums rather than just say online.
Yeah, of course. I think there's risk everywhere, and we've all delivered shitty lessons. That's just part and parcel of the industry. We're not perfect. But yeah, I guess ultimately, I think for me, it's just that face-to-face fulfillment and interaction that I get out of a lesson that I'd probably rather not do any at all, rather than at the moment until it kind of opens back up. That'd be my take at the moment.
Yeah, I guess one question we have from Carl here. He's asked around some of the content. So, Alana, do you do much content online? Like, or John, like, do you guys post some stuff via a channel or any of your social channels?
John, you want to take it? You want me to do?
Go ahead.
I've done a little bit. I mean, I definitely. It's one of those things where I would like to do more. I think it's an incredible way of getting your name out there when it's done properly and when it's done genuinely. So like if you have a plan and, because you're pumping out information, and I think Adam, and I'm not just saying this, I think Adam does probably one of the best jobs I've seen as far as in the information that he's sharing. Everything is really high quality. It makes sense. It's creative. There's obviously a lot of time that goes into what he does. Because I'm definitely more one-on-one. I enjoy coaching in person. I understand the value of marketing through social networks. I just haven't really dedicated a ton of time to it. And so since that, I don't want to put anything out that's not 100% quality. So I haven't gone that route, although I have plans in place over the next 5 years to kind of start being a little more active there, because it is really good. But I also think that it is, you're putting a lot out there and people are judging you for what you say and your content, and it's not forgotten, and you can't just delete it, really. So I think you have to be really smart as far as, this is our brand. I mean, we only have, when you're a coach, and obviously, Jon has his own academy and Adam has his own place, and I have my name, and then I work for the tour at a performance center. This is our brand, and everything you put out has to represent who you are and what your brand is. And I think you can't be too hungry to just start posting things to try to get followers, I guess. I don't know if that answers the question, but
yeah, it does. And you're right about Adam. Once when I sent out who was coming in, I had five of our local pros in New Zealand actually just come on and say, "Oh yeah, I follow Adam online. He does a bunch of this," and so yeah, I know a lot of people were pumped on that. How about you, Jon? Do you use any of that content to say enhance your own, like the Jon Horner School of Golf or Jon Horner Golf School?
Well, I would say we do in coordination with the golf course to help promote the course as well. I think, as far as my academy being at one course, I have to work in obviously unison with the golf course. So I do a lot of, I have a YouTube channel, but it's mostly about how to hit shots on each particular hole to help promote the golf course. I think that helps strengthen the relationship. And that's certainly something that you can leverage, I think, as an instructor, as far as how solid and secure your relationship is with your facility. That's been pretty good for me. And as far as the members have really enjoyed that, we certainly do, we do once a week kind of video tip. It's not been a huge focus point for me, but at the same token, I'm also working with a lot of folks from Asia as well. So I have to be, very virtual and making sure I'm paying attention to keeping track with my players. And a lot of them are better players out of Taiwan, and within 1 week I'm getting 10 to 15 golf swings to take a look at it. So, but yes, as far as online, I would say I'm working more in conjunction with my particular facility to strengthen that relationship and hopefully to grow both parties.
Let's dig into that a little bit. So you are based there now. I'm not asking numbers or anything. Do they pay you a retainer? Do you pay them a lease agreement to be at that facility? Like, how does that relationship work? And then do you have any kind of defined like KPIs or outcomes that you need to provide for the club?
Right. So I've been at Kollof for 8 years now, and we had the U.S. Open and a PGA Tour event for 4 years, and U.S. Open in 2016. Real nice course out here in Northern California. And so I was on salary. When I first took the job, I was a director of instruction and getting paid. And ultimately, it was my decision to launch my own brand. So it was a little risky, right? You're going from a health insurance and all the nice benefits of being paid to now all of a sudden it's my business. And particularly in California, it's a little tough as far as small business is concerned. But I would say it's actually helped leverage my position there even stronger. And so without me going independent, as far as owning my own academy, there's no way I would have been able to expand into Asia. And so kind of going back to the question of, hey, what do you love as far as what keeps you engaged in this industry? Because it can get tiring. And frankly, I was getting a little bit tired working with the Mrs. Johnson 25 handicap every day, all day. That I was like, hey, gosh, there's a big opportunity in Asia. And so I went over to Asia, took over there one year, and we offered a couple clinics pretty much for free, just the cost of airfare. And then that's expanded. And so now essentially, because I took that leap of faith, now I can fly some folks over from Asia to have them train at Kollof. So risk, sure, but I kind of do follow what you really love to do. Who do you love to teach? And I really just took the initiative to try to target that market. And for me, it was particularly Asia.
That's cool. So then, and I guess Alana and Adam, so you guys left roles, and Adam, you were at Liberty, and Alana, the name of the course in New York has left me. What was
I
yours?
was at two. I was at Scarsdale Golf Club, and then I was in the Hamptons for a few years at Atlantic.
Atlantic. So what made you guys leave those? Like seemingly from the outside, those would look like the most amazing facilities there could be. You look like you're absolutely crushing it and killing it. What was the choice to leave there and so move to another place and you, Adam, to start your own thing?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, the experience at Liberty was unbelievable. The course, the people that I got to work with, I mean, it doesn't really get better. So I was there for 5 seasons, and I always had the vision of doing something on my own. I think that was the biggest reason I left. I knew I wanted to open a facility, a place where I could call home and teach there 12 months out of the year, and raise a family nearby, obviously nearby the facility. So that was the big motivator for me. Plus, I always like to be challenged. And when you're at a course for 4 or 5 years, you're working with the same people over and over again. It's great. We get to do what we love, but sometimes you get a little bit boring, for a lack of better words, when you're working with the same people year after year. So it was the right time for me to do something new, to take on a new risk, a new challenge. And that gets me excited. It gets me more focused. And I think I become a better person, a better teacher because of it.
Alana?
Yeah, I think just experience, I think after leaving Jim McLean, I was the director of instruction at a country club, but a big family club. It was a younger membership. It was a blast. I loved it there. And it was a lot of program development. It was a lot of time behind a computer. I had other instructors that I had to manage, a lot more like on the business side than just being an individual. And it was an incredible experience. Like, I'm so glad that I had that, and working with all levels of players. And when the opportunity presented itself to go to the Hamptons, it was almost the opposite. It was a really exclusive, small club that I think there was less than 200 members, no kids. And so it made me a better teacher, but I think, and I love my time there, but I learned, that isn't the type of teaching that I was that interested in, because you look back at how you are as a player. And I always took golf very seriously. I knew that no matter what, if I went and had a lesson, like, I was going to have to work really, really hard on my end to get better. And when you're working with clients that want a quick fix Band-Aid to go play 18 holes, and if they don't play well right after that hour lesson, they come back and yell at you, or even if it's joking. And if they do, they're like, you're amazing. But like, a 1 hour lesson isn't necessarily going to just make or break. There has to be some time spent. And so when the PGA Tour and Todd Anderson reached out to me, and Todd gave me his vision as far as working at a performance center and kind of what this dynamic that we have here was, I was like, I think that's a perfect fit for me, which it is. Like, we basically set the stage. We share clients. We have 7 people on staff that we all work with the same people. So they might go to me for full swing, and then we have a short game coach, putting coach, fitness guy, fitter, and they come back. If they're out of town, they'll come back every 3 months. They'll do 3 days of training and then leave. Or if they're local, they'll come, once a week or every 2 weeks. But we have game plans for them, and they put the time in on their own time. So you're always seeing progress, which is, I think, important.
So that's really cool. So then you guys, as a group of coaches, you're all salary based, and then so you're in a service model like that, or does it depend on who the player comes and sees? Do you get remunerated per session, or as a collective like that?
Yeah, we have. I mean, it's all about the client. So we all have a salary that's not large by any means. I mean, we're predominantly commission based, but if the client needs a short game lesson, we have a short game coach for that. Or if my client is a really good player and after we go through an assessment, I say, hey, you know what? Like your full swing, your ball striking right now is pretty solid. But your short game needs to work. I think you should probably go spend time with this other coach. I guess it's seemingly selfless, but when everybody's on the same page, they're also doing the same thing on the other end. So it creates a really cool dynamic where we're all busy, but we're also all working together. For long-term thinking. Short-term, it probably wouldn't make a lot of sense, but long-term, it all balances out.
Nice. I guess a question for, and I know Gav, you're currently in the process of, and Adam and John, when you guys left and branched into your new stuff, how much, because there's quite a few pros here that look and have echo those same thoughts. I'd love to kind of do their own thing, start their own academy, start their own facility. How much, I guess, business planning and forecasting and I guess research went into the work prior to starting that up? Because Gav, you were telling me the figures of what you were looking at the other day. It's no small undertaking starting your own business. Adam, I'm sure yours was the same. How much like business planning and forecasting did you need to do to be comfortable stepping into that space?
I guess Adam, you've been there and done it. I'm just sort of scratching the surface at the moment, but really, I guess my desire to do my own thing it's been pretty strong for a few years. I'm sure Adam was probably in the same boat. But realistically, I'm probably 6 months into the actual plan and really feel I'm only scratching the surface with it. One of the biggest difficulties I'm finding at the moment is because I really want to do green grass is indoor doesn't really work down here. Just because we're a 12-month outdoor season and we're a very outside sort of society here in Oz. So, it's everyone wants to be outdoors in the sun and where it's nice rather than indoors. But I can understand if it's snowing for 6 months of the year, which is what Adam's getting, then indoor presents a great opportunity. But location has been the hardest part at the moment in finding a venue that already has, you'd say, good, just good leggings at the moment has a range or has a short game area, has the space, has the member base, and that would be potentially open to in essence, an independent contractor coming in and saying, hey, look, I'd like to invest in your business, but as a result, I want security as well. It's a really difficult balance, and it is, looking at some of the figures, it's quite daunting. If I'm looking to build a building and fit it out and develop the existing facilities there, then that's a lot of lessons to deliver if it comes off to get it up and running. I guess John, in starting Jon Horner Golf, it wasn't build a facility. It was start with a brand. You'd already been at a venue that was, everybody knew you anyway. And your investment, I'd say, was minimal in a TrackMan and maybe some updated teaching gear and whatever else. Whereas Adam, you've built a venue. You have 5 TrackMans or 4 TrackMans alone. That's a huge capital investment and risk to get that off the ground, mate. So, I think
there's a lot of this at the beginning.
I
bet I'm doing this looking at the plans.
Did you have a break? Did you have kind of in your forecast? Did you have a break-even point or a number of years where you thought, "Yep, I'm going to have worked this investment off," or how did that work?
Yeah, like 2 years I thought would be, and I did it a little bit sooner than 2 years. It was really good. We have done really well. In Boston, there's not too many facilities like Pure Drive Golf. The indoor facilities that are around Boston are mostly like entertainment, right? So you go and have a beer and then you play virtual golf. And we're nothing like that. You come to our facility and you practice and you take lessons or you get club fit. So we're all about improving. And just to touch on the process, I mean, it was such a long process to opening. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of things that you have to go through. Like the business planning is one aspect. but then there's finding the location. That's a whole nother world. And then it's engaging in lease negotiations, which is another whole world. And then you sign the lease, and then there's the build out, and then, you know, contractors. And then there's so many pieces that come together that I never want to do this again, but I'm just kidding. No, but it's, now that I know a lot about it, I think it'd be exciting to do another facility somewhere. But I'm very focused on where I am right now. It was a lot of work, but it's going well. Boston is a great place to do this. The winter is, well, the off season's 6 months, sometimes 7 months. So it's a huge opportunity, and there's not a lot of facilities like Pure Drive Golf. So I think that's why we're doing well.
That's cool. And did you either of you have, John or Adam, did you guys, either of you work with anybody? You got someone like a business mentor who kind of helped you through it, or were you just kind of figuring it out as you go along and finding out the information that you needed at the time?
Well, Jim McLean, for sure, for me. I mean, he's not just a teacher mentor, but like he ran his business. So he's taught me a lot about how running your business. I mean, these guys can tell you, like, when you're working under Jim, it's like, it's crazy how, like, his attention to detail was scary. I mean, the things that you had to do as an assistant just to keep up, and you know, it's back then you didn't really realize it at the time, but you were learning a lot on how to run a business. So a lot of the things that I'm doing now are because of what I've learned from Jim. So I'm sure everybody else would agree that he's helped in many ways.
There was no better learning environment than Jim's. Yeah, that was. It's hard to explain to people just how beneficial it was, just as an experience, as a life experience. Yeah, and I guess it was just under 2 years for me. And looking at the sums, I pretty much lost $50 a week in my time in the US, and I would do it all over again. It was
that was my number, $50
yep.
a week. I was in the red every week. Yeah.
Yep. Every week in the red for 2 years.
You must have been on the same pay. That's right. Yeah.
And was a fully qualified golf pro at the time. Yeah, I thought that, okay, this is it. I've made it. You know, I'm a PGA member. Yeah, life's only up from here. And yeah, look at 2 years and arrive to a facility where you soon figure out that you actually don't know a lot, but you're welcome with open arms, and absolutely any question is only returned with, yeah, just as welcome and open answer. That yeah, it was hands down the most valuable learning experience, I think, for myself.
Were you losing $50 a week even staying in the IBIS? Because my life changed when I went to the IBIS.
Oh, I don't know how long I was in the IBIS. I did have a car that was really costly at the time. That was
the red Mazda.
The red Mazda that, yeah, there was a respray. It was, yeah, that was a nightmare, that thing. And then, yeah, Josh bought it off me. I made some money back there. That was great. You know, I definitely sold it for more than what it was worth.
It ran beautifully for me, and then I sold it for more than I bought it for to Karen.
Oh, lucky you! Damn, I could have really won out there.
Yeah, John, what about you? Before we lose that as a train of thought, anybody you worked with when you went and started your own academy, or was it similar to Adam, like just stuff that you'd experienced and knowledge that you'd gained over the time leading up to that point?
John, you there?
Is that one for me?
Yeah, it's just more similar to Adam. Did you work with anybody on your academy, or?
So for me, the academy.
Losing them.
No.
You've lost them.
Yep.
Losing them.
Hang on.
Got me now?
Back. Maybe.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Kind of. This is a classic Zoom moment right here. Yep. Give it a nudge, John. No, he's gone. He's fully gone.
Oh, next question. We'll get him back.
Yeah. Well, one question that we had coming through: how many on-course sessions do you guys do? I mean, I know you're very good on a range and in that teaching environment. Do you get on course a lot with your players? And if so, how do you kind of structure that on-course session with them? Alana, start with you.
I do a lot. I do a lot of on-course sessions. You know, I'm always about player development. And so, you know, I would say as far as range time goes, 50% would be probably instruction. But I also, the majority of my client base right now are players that are playing competitively. And so those players obviously need a little bit more time on the golf course. We're a busy place. You know, TPC Sawgrass has 2 golf courses, both of which are really, really busy. And so we don't have as much time to like throw different balls down and like hit different shots from other places and like do all that. So it's a lot more observation, honestly, right now, which is different than the rest of my career. When I do on course now, I'm watching a player, I'm monitoring their decisions, I'm looking at, based off of months of working with them in different capacities, like, you know, and I also, one of the things I'll do is I'll watch them compete. And whether it's I go out and I watch them in a tournament play 9 holes, or I'll put students together that'll actually compete against each other. And I watch them in a competitive environment and monitor their decisions and things like that to get a better idea of where they are as a player, which then gives me insight into how we need to spend our time and where our game plan needs to be. So I would say 6 years ago, I'd go on course and do a lot more like, this is the lie, you know, that's where the pin is, and teaching like that. And now it's more like, okay, that's the decision they made. Did they pull it off? Did they notice things that were there that they didn't see? And then we talk about it after, normally, or after the hole, once I watch it play out entirely.
So you look now a lot more at behaviors and I guess self-awareness for the player, right, on the golf course, rather than specific course management strategies that you might use at any one time.
And some obviously, like I'll still do a little bit of that depending on the player. You know, if they don't have a ton of playing experience, then obviously our time will be spent more in that capacity. So it is there's so many variables here, but I would say my playing lessons have definitely changed dramatically in the last, 3 years.
That's cool. Anyone else?
As much as possible. I think, I think ultimately we do this for improving students, and there's no better proving ground than getting out on a golf course with them. And if I think Alana said, watching them compete is a different world altogether again. If they're a few holes with their golf coach and it's a pretty quiet afternoon or pretty quiet out on a course, it's a comfortable, nice environment. If they're trying to post a number, different world altogether. But I think, I think we do get caught up in mechanics probably a little too much. But I enjoyed watching students play as well and get inside their heads. I think as a golf coach, that to me is maybe that other little piece that really interests me. So I think we teach a sport that's a forever changing environment, and we've got to continually adjust with what we deliver as information to that student to help them fit into that environment. So
are you guys playing with them at the same time? Alana, same as you. Do you play as well, or do you typically just observe?
For me, it depends. It completely depends. I've found, and I respect the coaches that can do this, but if I have to give 100% to somebody, I can't focus on my own game. And so if it's like serious lesson where they want me to like watch and be completely full focused on them, I just can't play because I have a hard time separating the two, and that's just me personally. And I know that, so I know what type of environment I need to kind of sit out. If it's competing or like I'm watching them and I'm just playing alongside with them, I'll play. And so, but it just kind of, I would probably play 70% of the time.
Nice.
Say with junior golfers you can play, and then with adults it's better to watch.
It's hard. It's really hard with adults. I would agree with that, John. With the kids, it's really good to go out and at least like show.
Yeah,
they tend to respect it all.
It's a big key.
I think even you might not necessarily play, but you might drop a ball here and there and discuss a scenario or look over a shot, or that you've seen their shot and gotten inside their head and say, well, hey, look, let's maybe try it this way, and something as a demo, or but yeah, I wouldn't say that I play with many with many students unless it is a particular student that you're almost competing against them as such.
How does it work for you, Adam? Are you connected to a facility? Because I know you love playing golf, and that was always the thing I remember from you at Jim McLean. You used to get out there and beat everybody on the golf course pretty much every week. So what about you? Do you get out by yourself, or can you get out with clients? Like, what's the story there?
I do play a little bit. I play in the PGA section events. I also get out and play with some clients at their home courses.
Nice.
I don't do lessons. I mean, I'm sort of working on a relationship with the course right now, where I could just, teach several hours during the day at there. But right now there's so much going on at the facility that I actually prefer staying at the facility teaching. And it's nice. I mean, I know it's indoors and there's a ton of limitations indoors, but at the same time, people like to come indoors. They like to get away from their own golf course to come in and take a look. They like to go to somebody who's like a specialist. So I think they enjoy that. Plus, it's like a very controlled environment. It's away from the first tee, right? So if you're like teaching somebody, you're trying to give them a tip right before they get on the first tee, you got to be careful, right? And that's a tough lesson right there. There's a lot riding on what you're going to tell them. So when they come to my facility, they're away from their golf course. I know they're not going to be playing, and they're coming because they want to get better. They know that it's going to probably be a little more of a technical lesson. And, it works out. I enjoy that type of lesson. I get into the technology. I'm definitely going to tell them what I think technically what's going on in their swing. But yeah, it's a lot different. I mean, it's a lot different, but I still have I have a lot of fun with it, even not being on a golf course.
How popular is because I'm sure on the TrackMan, you've got the courses that you can play and punch up and play 9 or 18 holes at certain preloaded courses on there?
Yeah, there's a ton of courses now that you can play. They're always adding more. That's what people like to do when they come in and practice.
Is that popular as a feature?
Yeah, during the winter, I mean, you have people coming in all the time and just playing courses. And that's like primarily what people are doing during the winter. But then when during the summer, we actually get mostly the players that like to come in and check their TrackMan numbers. Because obviously if they're going to play, they're going to go outside and play. But if they're going to come to my facility during the summer, they're not going to play virtual golf because they can do it outside. They're going to just check their TrackMan numbers and see what their path is, attack speed, or whatever it is they want to look at, because they know they can't go to the local driving range and get TrackMan feedback. So during the summer, it's mostly like the guys who are really focused on performance, and they're using that feature in TrackMan. But during lessons, I don't really use. I should do more, but I don't love using the virtual golf, to be honest. I mean, it's just so different than normal golf outside that I use it sometimes when I'm talking course management, right? So I'll get to a par 5 and I'll talk about like, you could do this if the water's here, or, it's a dog leg here, you should try this shot shape. But yeah, so I use it in that sense, but not all the time when I'm teaching.
Nice. How much of your guys' business, and John, I think particularly you, how much business is in the youth space for you guys?
Well, for me, that's my big model right now. I'm working on and we're trying to target, kids coming to the States. And as far as, getting kids into college, and that's been a really fun process for me as far as just focus points. And so I would say I've transitioned quite a bit from the standard member to a lot of their junior, and that's actually helped strengthen my relationship with the course as well. I mean, we've started a couple programs that have really locked in our facility, and that's really been my focus point as far as launching my academy, is to make sure that we're solid. And because you asked a question earlier as far as what our deal is. We pay the facility a small portion, monthly rent, but the facility is very busy, and it's a nice facility. Alana's played there one time, and Gavin's been out too. But we need to me, it's doing our part each week and day to strengthen that relationship, and as far as obviously grow the business too.
It's a big area. It's certainly one thing at the moment we look at coming out of lockdown. The two biggest things are those, yes, youth golf, a really healthy, vibrant youth program or youth facility, and then having a really well-oiled kind of new to golf. I guess it's a pathway, but there's no one pathway, but a really nice way to transition, I guess, players from never played, so come in first touch, new to golf. The gap between that group, which I think pros service quite well, that new to golf, and then transitioning to being like an 18-hole player, the gap between those two is enormous. So it's certainly the two biggest areas down here. And I guess when you look at youth golf and that as a model, how do you have a kind of preset plan? Like you mentioned about a long-term thing that you look at with players, like how did the development of that go? And I guess how do you, continue to move kids along through the space to get them to wherever they want to go?
Well, I would highly recommend Operation 36. It's a program, and it is just doing great. Essentially the focus, shoot 36 within 9 holes from different yardages. So you start from 25 yards and in, move back to 50 yards and in, back to 100 yards and in, and that's been really well received for our junior golfers, but also for ladies at Cordova.
So you use that for both ladies and kids, yeah?
Yeah, and that program, they're able to sign online and use they have an app. Operation 36 has been great for our academy. I mean, it's actually also really helped me as far as just keeping things fresh, and they have all sorts of ideas and games, and but also a lot of our peers, Robbie Fritz, Justin Klambala, at really top clubs throughout the country, are also very active in the Operation 36, and just really, really well received. It's very, very beginner friendly, like you said, Josh. It's and it takes the anxiety of having to play 9 holes from the red tees for a lady. It can be very anxious and anxiety inducing when you have to hit these shots and you don't know every little nuance and feeling comfortable there. So it's great.
Yeah, we had a coach on a few weeks ago who was out in Australia, out in Perth, who does all of his business in youth golf. That's all he does. Runs a really successful youth academy. Yeah, he loves the on-course playing component of the Op 36, and that's the first touch that they do, and create that love and start to be aware of actually how golf's played, to then almost create the need and the desire to get some work with some coaching on the other side of it, rather than often we do it in the reverse. We fill this need in this coaching space for something that they're actually not sure yet that they need because they haven't really been on the golf course.
And I think you can create your own custom version for it. I mean, you don't have to go through the program if you don't need to, but just under that process, I love the creativity as far as being able to create a program like that. And, the program that we use Operation 3, we call it 369. And it's for beginner ladies, and they have to number and then they graduate to 6 holes and then 9 holes. And within the program, it's a once-a-week program that we start with 1 hour of instruction, and then collectively as one big group, and it could be 20 people out there, and we all play. We got the golf course to buy in, of course, as far as the process of it. But it's targeting that market that I really didn't even know was there until we launched it. And we've had a lot of ladies that would have never played golf, and then on top of that, really create a good activity for the game and the club.
That's cool. One question, Alana, specifically for you that came through, and in Auckland here, Emily from New Zealand Golf and Shan from the PGA, they've kind of set up it's an Auckland women's coaching network. So it's kind of collectively getting all of the females who are in the industry coaching all together, just to kind of, as I guess a group to just run things by and connect on that front. One thing that we notice here, and I'd be curious to know from your viewpoint after being in the industry for 10 to 12 years, there are so few female golf coaches out there. Why do you think that is? And then I guess, is there anything that you look at and you go, wow, this would be really cool if the industry worked like this in terms of bringing females in and retaining them in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough thing, because I think I do, in my experience, and I'm seeing it growing. It's just a very slow growth. I mean, I think right now when you see what Augusta's done with drive, chip, and putt, and you see how many more girls are playing the game and falling in love with it, I think if we were having this conversation 20 years from now, I'm not quite sure that the genders would match necessarily, but I think that it's growing significantly. I think it's just not happening that fast. And that's probably true for a lot of sports, not just golf on a professional level.
So do you think it reflects a lot of, say, just the general participation numbers? That's what people end up flowing into the industry as a vocation. So that would make sense. Absolutely.
I think as more young children, young girls are getting involved in the game, golf is going to continue to be a part of their lives. If they fall in love with it when they're 7, 8 years old, maybe they have dreams of playing in college, playing professionally. Maybe they do. Maybe they decide, hey, you know what? I love this. I want to go into coaching. I had a great female coach, so I know that that's a job, because I think a lot of people don't even realize that that's a possibility. And so the exposure to seeing a woman in that role is important just for young girls. But I think that as we go, it'll be really interesting to see what happens as far as like the progression of these young girls getting into the business. I don't know. I think it's just slowly building. I don't think there's anything that we personally, like right now, we can't force golf on people. But I think that more and more people are becoming interested in it because it's becoming more and more available to people. So I think the numbers are going to start to shift.
Yeah. And we're coming from a pretty shitty spot. What was it? 80 years ago, all clubhouses were still very segregated and a lot of facilities still. I mean, Augusta was late to the piece, right? Even letting females play, which was just seems crazy that it took that long. So.
Yeah, when I think but I also think that like they've really set a really cool standard with drive, chip, and putt. I mean, I'm sure, you guys have seen it too. I've seen the junior players preparing for a drive, chip, and putt. It's like they're preparing for the British Open. It is so intense, and it's becoming more and more competitive. And I think, man, as a young player, how that would have changed my view on golf if I were 10 years old and you get one drive and a few chips, and how cool that experience is. And then plus with the women's amateur at Augusta, I think there are things in the forefront that are going to have a potential to really growing this game to everybody.
Yeah,
so.
nice. All right, as we round in, because I'm cognizant of time. As we round in, let's see if we can get a top four. So I'll ask you four. So if we've got coaches out here, and we've got quite a lot of, there's a mixture of new and coaches that have been around for a while. Yeah, let's see if you can get a top four of things in terms of what you do, why Jim McLean and that learning environment was so good. So top four maybe recommendations for new coaches that are trying to build themselves in the industry. If you've got one each, that would be pretty cool. Put you on the spot.
For a new coach?
Or somebody, let's say, in the first kind of, like you, Gav, 2 years out of their traineeship or in their traineeship.
Put your hand up and say that I don't know what I'm doing, and seek the answers.
Nice.
Yeah, I think to be very honest, and I don't want to criticize in any way, but I came out of my PGA traineeship, and from what I know now, basically knew nothing about coaching. Put your hand up, and if you don't know, and ask a question and seek the answer.
Nice. All right, that's one. That's good.
I'd say if you are trying to get into the industry, jump in, try to start giving lessons right away. I think that experience is one of the biggest things. It's going to really teach you how to become a teacher. You're going to learn so much just from the experience. Obviously, going to like Jim McLean School or getting hooked up with a great teacher and getting mentored, those are all huge. You have to do those. But also the experience of teaching yourself. You're going to learn so much from that. So don't be afraid to start giving lessons. If you need to just charge $20 or $50 for a lesson, do it. And then just put yourself on the line, start telling them what you think. And maybe you learn down the road that wasn't the right thing to tell them, but okay. So you learned, and then you'll move on and you'll be better off because of it.
Yeah, and just to reiterate what Adam said there, I do remember at Doral, Adam spent, I think it was about 3 months learning stack and tilt, like actually putting himself through a stack and tilt swing. Like he basically reinvented his own technique and his own game, just focusing on the stack and tilt was the hot thing at that time. But I bet what he gained from that is now helped him form to be the coach that he is today. And you worked really hard at that. I remember that you were really dedicated to that.
Hey, you got to try different things.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Hats
off to you.
You got to try everything. You got to learn everything. If you're ignorant to certain coaches because they have a certain style, I think you're limiting yourself and your knowledge. You might learn things and you might think, okay, I'm never going to use that in a lesson. Okay, well, great. At least you tried to go and learn that. Because the more you learn, the more you'll realize that, okay, this is what I'm going to hold on to most. This is what I really believe in. And I just, put your knowledge out there, or try to gain as much knowledge as you can.
Yeah.
Nice. It's getting late. We've got 2 to go. Alana, John, anyone?
I would say just one of the big things I learned from Jim, and I've always made it a priority, is invest in your education. Don't get stuck thinking short term. Think, okay, you know what? If you read something, like you read a book, a coach writes a book and you read it and you say, hey, that kind of resonates with me. No matter where they are, it's worth investing the money to go spend time with them and pick their brain and learn from them. Because that just helps with your overall development of where you're going. If you're only, and I honestly do think that, and once we get through this climate, like in person, getting to know different coaches, and to what Adam's saying, if you disagree with someone, especially early on, like ask yourself why and reach out and find out, learn from those people that you disagree with, because you start to develop a really strong opinion through just knowledge, just learning, but not bias. And that was a huge thing I learned from Jim, was just seek out experts, learn. If you disagree, keep learning. ask questions, and you start building off your knowledge.
That's awesome. Because it's true, we tend to have that confirmation bias, right? We love hearing coaches that say the same things that we do. So you try to surround yourself with those people. But eventually you end up believing your own crap. And yeah, you definitely need to stretch out. How about you, John?
Yeah, I think the common thread there was continue to learn. But then within the mark there, I would say really for younger teachers, be great at teaching with your hands and arms. Be great. Read Ernest Jones, swing the club head, teach ball flight backwards, get the club in the center of the club face. Just as far as beginner teaching and teaching the beginner golfer, I think that's just be great at teaching with those hands, arms, and focus on what the golf club is doing. Obviously, that's kind of the first step as far as what we were trained as teachers, is train the hands and arms first. I think that's just great at club level teaching. But teach yourself a lot of different ways to get the golf club to maneuver differently by focusing on the hands and arms. And I think that would be a great start for beginner focused instructors.
Nice. That's good. Well, then I guess one last question, and we've kept it pretty limited on the Corona chat so far. You're all, I guess, going to be some point. John, you've just started. Alana, you might be the same. Adam, you're about to kick in. Gav, you're in a similar spot to us here in New Zealand. Are you going to need to make any changes in the way you kind of do business to build things back up over the next few months? Like everyone here is going to be in the same situation. Have you guys planned for that or thought about that yet?
Yeah, we have a lot of new things we're going to implement at the business. So I'm working on those right now. Just how people walk into the facility. We're going to have a specific procedure, how people get in and out of our practice bays, where are people waiting before lessons and how are they checking out? How are they paying for their services? There's a lot that I'm working on. It's crazy, to be honest with you. I never would imagine that here I am today trying to figure out how to bring my business back and trying to make it safe for people because there's this contagious virus out there. It's just like the most craziest thing in the world. So, so I'm going to embrace it, and we're going to try to come back strong. It's just a tough place we're in right now. Massachusetts getting hit pretty hard. So we're going to phase in real slowly, but it's going to have a much bigger impact moving forward, but I know we'll get through this.
Sure.
I think for me, we're actually going to start clinics here up pretty soon. And I was thinking about how to do that. And I'm going to do a lot of stations, put, training stations, noodles and rotating stations when I start with that 369 program again, with distance, of course. And, but I think that's, as far as how does it apply to the lesson tee, I'm going to try to do as many, rotating spots. Maybe you build 10 spots and you spend an hour before the clinic to set up. But I actually like that anyways too. I think it's great for clinic settings.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, certainly that PPE and like you said, Adam, keeping everybody safe. How about you guys, Alana? You guys feeling okay coming out of this space as a facility, or?
Yeah, I mean, we're coaching under pretty strict procedure just to keep everybody safe, and we've eliminated everything that anyone can touch. So, it's been you get used to it, but it's not easy, like not touching a client and moving them. I kind of think about, like, if someone says you can't touch your face, all you want to do is touch your face. So, you're used to stepping in and moving the client around, helping them feel it. It's hard to only use your words to do that, but I'm thankful to be coaching regardless. I think the biggest thing for me going forward is that a lot of my client base, I have my local clients, but a lot of my clients are from all over, and they fly in every month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. And so how can I keep my communication alive with them when travel might not be a reality for a little while? And so that's kind of where I've been putting, what's the best possible way that I can have a platform to help those people when they're used to coming all the time if it's a year from now, how can I help them keep improving and stay in touch with me? So that's kind of where I've started to shift my business.
Nice. Yeah, certainly going to need to be a few changes, aren't they, to fit in, I guess, with the way people now live their lives and the conversation that's going on in their heads. So yes, it's certainly going to be up to us or as golf pros to adapt, I guess, to suit that and fill that need rather than the other way. That's for sure. Well, look, I am very thankful for all of your time. I don't want to keep you much later. I know you're getting into the evening over there in the States. So, look, on behalf of me personally and the PGA here in New Zealand, we can't thank you all enough for your time. It was awesome to hear some thoughts, and there's heaps of stuff coming through in private messages that I've got there around some stuff. So, like I said, thank you so much. And, I wish you all the best coming out of the lockdown, and good to hear that at least everybody was safe in this time. So on that note, I'll finish the recording, and certainly I'll be hanging around, and I might open up a few things if anybody wants to jump in very briefly at the end. But yeah, thank you all so much for your time.